Hello there, folks, and welcome to the Pride of Detroit POD-cast. I'm flipping up. It is usually a big, loud and or whatever, but we're not doing that. No, we're here to talk to you. We are the Pride of Detroit POD-cast. We're your friends from prideofdetroit.com, at Pride of Detroit on Twitter, Pride of Detroit on Facebook. I'm not going to list off the other places except for also live while we do these podcasts on twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit and YouTube. Search for Pride of Detroit. Our podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify. Hold that thought on those. I'm going to round back to those in a second before we begin. On this show, we are going to be talking about Calvin Johnson. He's going into the Hall of Fame. Big news. The Lions have another coach that they've just picked up, and guess what, folks? It's another former NFL player.
One that Ryan's going to like a lot, by the way.
One that Ryan's going to like a lot, by the way. Thank you, Random Voice. And plenty of fallout from the Super Bowl and NFL free agency, including how the Bears might be stepping in it. But first, introducing everyone, Jeremy Reisman, the fearless leader at Detroit Online. Hello, Jeremy.
Hi, Chris. Welcome to the offseason, everybody now. This is where things get fun, I guess, for Lions fans, for some Lions fans that aren't me, but hey.
It's always the offseason. It's always the offseason. That's always been my philosophy, and one day I will run a website called The Offseason, dedicated to just that, the offseasons. And third man of the crew, the great and powerful Ryan Matthews. At Ryan_POD. Ryan, how are we doing?
I'm doing well, but I'm not doing as well as Jeremy. He's in Ford Field right now.
Yeah, so if you're watching on our live streaming, Jeremy has gotten a green screen, and he is in Ford Field right now, which is breaking several quarantines, but, they just let him do that. Did I introduce myself? Did I even say... I always introduce you guys so quick. Half the time I forget if I introduce myself.
Adequate.
Double yourself up if you did it the first time.
I am Chris Perfett, the adequate host, at Chris Perfett, PERFETT on Twitter. Now, I want to rebound this. I'm sorry, we're going to get to this right off the bat. People, I know, don't like when we front load this, but we've got some important podcast business to take care of. First off, I want to thank you guys because we had an amazing January. I usually don't share our numbers because that's kind of like... You're kind of flouting a little bit. And nobody in podcasts likes to actually talk about their numbers in the proper context. But let me give you one number: 100,000 downloads for the month of January.
That's crazy.
Over 100,000 downloads. Unique listeners up there matching. It wasn't just like 50 people downloading the same podcast, which is what you get sometimes with downloads. No, we had a very competitive 5 digits. I want to say it was like 30,000, 40,000 unique listeners in that 100,000. So you guys are listening every week and you're downloading everything. You guys rule in big ways. Thank you.
We owe you.
It's huge. It was our biggest month. It's our biggest month yet. We had huge
across the board
during the season. We were huge during the season too. We were hitting 70,000, 80,000. You guys blew us away in January. So stand up, give yourself a round of applause. I also want to give you guys another round of applause because as of 6 p.m. Eastern Time on the 9th of February, 2021, we are sitting at 399 reviews on Apple Podcasts. So 2 notes to take away from there. One, we need one of you brave souls who hasn't reviewed it. That is on Apple Podcasts, right, Jeremy? It's not on Stitcher. It's okay. It's on Apple Podcasts. 399. We need a brave soul who hasn't reviewed yet to go to Pride of Detroit on Apple Podcasts and give us that review. Hopefully it's a 5-star review. Second, because of that, our tagline is now, we are the most reviewed Lions podcast on the internet. The most reviewed one. Not the highest rated one, not the highest reviewed one, because people hate me. People hate me a lot.
I love the tagline, the most reviewed Lions podcast out there. We can stop it there. We don't have to get into specifications.
You should be loved and or hated. You should have a combination of both at any given time.
And it's objective. It's a number. There's nothing that you can argue about that. Like, we are the most reviewed podcast.
Yeah, that won't lie to you. 4 stars, 4.1, 4.2, whatever it is. 1-star reviews, people saying, oh my God, why is Chris back? Those don't matter. What does matter is 400 reviews.
Not there yet, though.
Twitch chat is saying we do have 400 views, so Jeremy might have.
It may have changed in the next, in the whatever. Now it still says $3.99 for me.
All right. Well, we are. I'm sure by the time you download this at home, it might be 400. So we'll we'll count it. But all right, enough of that. I want to get to everything else that's going on in the world, and we're going to start. Speaking of big numbers, Hall of Fame numbers, if you will. Before the big game on Sunday night, and you got to call it the big game. We don't have the rights to be able to call it the proper name.
Super Bowl.
We can talk about that.
Sue me.
It's a journalistic sense. It's the big game. It's the big game, Jeremy. It's the big game. There's only one big game every year. Calvin Johnson, Megatron, has entered the Hall of Fame as a first ballot. Bam. Just like that. These hotshot Detroit Lion wide receiver now in the Hall of Fame. First ballot. If people had doubts about his career length, they were put to bed right away. In the 9 years he was there to play, he lit the league up. The NFL stands for not for long. I think 9 years is more than enough. Some people think that you should be going for a lot more than that. NFL, not for long. That's longer than 95% of careers out there in the NFL. But Jeremy, your thoughts on this momentous day?
Well, I'm not a huge fan of the Hall of Fame. I think we kind of tend to make a bigger deal of it than we should. At least, I mean, the Hall of Fame isn't for us really. It's for the players themselves, and it should mean a lot to them. But for us, I think it's just kind of fodder sometimes for I don't know, shows like this. But at the same time, like, I was really rooting for him to get in as a first balloter. Lions fans don't get a lot of things to cheer about, and I thought it was kind of a 50-50 shot on his first ballot, because I do think a lot of people factor in longevity, and you're right that 95% of careers are much shorter than 9 years, but 99% of careers don't make it into the Hall of Fame. So I thought maybe they'd be a little stringent there. Obviously, no big playoff moments for Calvin Johnson either. But this is an individual award. This is an individual accomplishment. So I'm happy. I'm proud of the Hall of Fame voters for not taking those things too much into account when you consider that this guy was the wide receiver of the 2000s. I mean, he was the guy. There was no one else, I think, in my opinion, more feared than him in those span of 9 years. He was All-Pro, I think, in 3 or 4 straight years, Pro Bowl 6 straight years. When you're at that class of level at your position for that long of a period, I think you're in, and I don't want to dabble with this. Well, we shouldn't let him in the first year. Like, no, if he's a Hall of Famer, you put him in. He's a Hall of Famer. They put him in. Good job.
Yeah, I'm not going to get bogged down in the shenanigans like baseball does, which now we're at this position where baseball doesn't put anyone in. So, Ryan, your memories, your thoughts on Calvin Johnson entering the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I wrote an open thread last Saturday before the vote was revealed, and I just asked, should Calvin Johnson be a first ballot Hall of Famer? And it really got me thinking, like, if it wasn't for Barry Sanders, Calvin Johnson would be the greatest player in the history of the Detroit Lions. If it wasn't for a generational talent, unlike we've ever seen and maybe we'll ever see again, like Barry Sanders, who knows if we'll ever see another player like Calvin Johnson. I know everybody wants to, make comparisons with Chase Claypool all of a sudden just because he has similar measurables, or DK Metcalf. And I think what DK Metcalf probably said spoke more to what I agree with. And I remember somebody, I think it was Jim Schwartz, mentioning to him, he's not Calvin Johnson, or he's not Megatron, or something along those lines. Right. And DK Metcalf being like, yeah, I'm not him. I'm DK Metcalf, because there is only one Calvin Johnson. I mean, there was one Calvin Johnson who on Sundays, he was bigger than life. I mean, every time he lined up across from a cornerback, it looked like automatic mismatch. Didn't matter who was on him. And, by the time the ball was snapped, even before you saw him release off the line, like, he just had like the strength of an edge defender almost. And he had the release ability of, some of the greatest wide receivers. And I think with Calvin Johnson, not only was it well-deserved for him to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, I think that it was like necessary. And I don't want to get too caught up in it, but I think a lot of people were willing to die on the hill that Calvin didn't have a large enough resume. And that just doesn't make any sense to me at all, because if you're going to hold that against Calvin Johnson, why didn't you hold that against Barry Sanders? I mean, a great talent is a great talent.
Yeah.
End of discussion.
Absolutely. And again, I just keep coming back to it. Man, there's so many guys who wish they could get to 9 years. This whole idea that 9 years is somehow not long enough. It also flies in the face of careers these days. I know some guys, they had to be drag kicking and screaming away from the game, but Calvin Johnson, like, damn, 9 years. I can't imagine 9 years. I can't imagine spending 9 years of my life in one job. Maybe I'm just a filthy millennial who's just transient and incapable of doing anything but wandering, but that strikes me as very funny. I think though, anytime you get a wide receiver where we have to spend multiple years dissecting whether it's the wide receiver or the quarterback who gets more credit between Matthew Stafford and Calvin Johnson, that speaks already to the credit of Calvin Johnson. There were guys who thought, Stafford wasn't good just because Calvin Johnson was just that damn good. Like he was right. Bullying everyone out of position. He was going over the top. He had your narrative big time catches. He had fantastic stats in those 9 years. I know I was arguing with someone who said he only had one good year, and that's just objectively not true.
He had a 3-year stretch where he led the league twice out of those 3 years, and no one has ever topped those three combined years. None. He had over 5,300 yards, I think, total in 3 years. No one's ever
first team All-Pro for 3 years as well. Like, I don't know what else you need to put up there. And people, you hear it from players, they respect the hell out of him. Yeah. They respect the hell out of him, and it's all there. And maybe this is something funny I think about, because I think that sports fandom is cleaving between older and younger, and I wonder how many younger people will have seen Calvin Johnson play. But I will say this, that that was a specimen out there, just incapable of being stopped in any direction. I know we're kind of speaking as if but this is a Lions podcast, and I feel bad that we're also speaking like, hey, maybe you've never heard this guy, but we need to inform.
Yeah, and I think Ryan's point where, all these new players coming in, every big physical receiver, who are they compared to? Calvin Johnson, a guy with. I mean, the one thing that no one talks about enough is his speed. Yeah, Babytron. No, we're not even. No. But that's the point. When there's a good receiver who's tall and fast, he's Megatron. That's who he is. And the point is, he changed the game so much that he is the prototype for the most athletic receivers of all time. And that, when you change the game like that, and I saw it thrown on social media over the past 3-4 days, the most iconic moment I think of Calvin Johnson's career, and the proof that he changed the game, is him lined up at the goal line with 2 Saints defenders on him for a fade route. Have any one of you seen that happen before or after that? I don't know if I've seen anyone get that treatment after that. That's incredible.
Well, what makes it even more incredible, Jeremy, is all of the advanced statistics that tell us that fade routes are terrible, terrible throws, and that they're not high success rate.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's just another feather in his cap. I have one kind of follow-up question, Jeremy, because there's a lot of extracurriculars around Calvin Johnson, right? Like whether or not he's going to make amends with the Lions. It seems like that is, heading on the right track. So there, the poll that I put up on Saturday, it was kind of surprising because I asked, should Calvin Johnson be a first ballot Hall of Famer? It's a Lions website, and only 79% of people said yes. I think that number is kind of low in my opinion.
Well, I mean, and also let's be clear, you have to be 80% by the Hall of Fame voters. So by Hall of Fame standards, he would not be a first ballot Hall of Famer by our poll.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, that was 1,500 votes. So, I mean, it wasn't like some small poll that kind of went unnoticed. But with that being said, Jeremy, just the context that Calvin Johnson has given after his career has been over, in terms of all the stuff that he went through, in terms of the pain pills that he would have to take just to play football. and him retiring early, what do you make of that in terms of whether it hurt or helped Calvin Johnson's case?
It's a good question. I think all that stuff played a little more locally than it did nationally. Um, there's no doubt that his reputation in Detroit took a hit with all of the drama after the signing bonus stuff. And I think there are still some fans that are a little resentful, and maybe that's why we saw a dip in those polls. Because it's interesting, the narrative after he retired changed quite dramatically, right? Like there were some fans that were so bitter by everything that Calvin Johnson was saying that they were saying, this guy had drops in big moments. This guy didn't try hard. He wouldn't practice a lot,
he quit on the team. Like the people that were saying like he was just quitting and just going home that one year, which was like baffling.
His heart wasn't in it. Things of that, and it's crazy. It's once hopefully, and we're gonna get into this in a second. Hopefully, when the Lions hopefully smooth things over, all that nonsense can go out the window. But I do feel like there was a little bit of resentment locally, and I don't think it was ever really felt nationally. I don't think any of that. Really, the only thing nationally that really mattered that would have prevented him from getting in, I think, was the longevity thing. And 9 years to me, like Chris said, is plenty, especially with the level he was playing.
Speaking from I like to speak from the national perspective because I listen to a lot of national sports media, and I think nationally those concerns weren't felt because nationally people looked at Calvin Johnson, looked at him retiring, and said, okay, well, this is a Barry Sanders situation. They blame all those things about your heart's on it. It was like, dude, he's playing for the Lions. I know Lions fans don't want to hear that, but I'm sorry, man. The organization's reputation precedes it. People are more than happy to blame the Lions for that idea that they drive people away from playing the sport. It's not fair, but at the same time, it is a trope. It holds up. And absolutely, that when a guy walks away from the Lions after 9 years, they understand it. They totally understand it. And this is so funny. This is so funny because I remember I was having this was the Lions fan. I remember back, I think it was before I joined the site. It was like 2014. I was coming home from Savannah. I was in an airport, and I was in Charlotte. There was another Lions fan there who's going to a Thanksgiving game. I think this was 2012 actually, but he told me straight up, like he said that Matthew Stafford was so bad he was wasting Calvin Johnson's career, which I didn't agree with, but that's kind of the weirdness of what Calvin Johnson and Stafford were for a lot of Lions fans. The other point I will say on the national side is, again, like people just saw the potential in Calvin Johnson. They really, at every level, it's kind of this new love that Stafford's getting now that he's going to Los Angeles, that he's going to a major market. And everyone was talking about, like, what if Calvin Johnson played for, like, the Patriots or something like that. It was there. So this idea that his heart wasn't in it just does not play anywhere else but Detroit. It just doesn't.
It doesn't for another reason too. Just look at the numbers. He missed 9 games over his 9-year career. He missed 9 games. For a guy who was seemingly on the injury report like way more times than not. I think that's a really impressive stat too for a guy who literally put his body on the line and he's feeling the effects of it right now. So the one other interesting thing about the Calvin Johnson saga is that for somebody like myself, who was a little bit too young to understand the nuances of Barry Sanders' premature retirement, it really gave me a glimpse into, this is kind of what it was like for Barry Sanders because of what Jeremy said. Like, a lot of those fans, I would say the majority of fans, got real bitter about Calvin Johnson as he decided to turn the page and move on to the next part of his career.
The other thing I'll say from the national side, Ryan, about that bitterness too, this whole idea that he quit, I will say that I think he might be the beneficiary, at least because this is going to sound weird for me. This might be a hot take. Andrew Luck retired like a couple weeks before the season started. And people found that egregious. Whereas and it was always, and I remember that being held up in contrast to Calvin Johnson, who waited until the end of a season. Yeah. And then during the end of the season, he told his teammates what was happening in week 17. And the organization knew in like February or March. And I remember there were some of our fans, some of our readers who were mad that because a report came out that he was making his decision.
Right.
And he gave it like a week or two later, but there were already fans mad. And I got an email from one saying that the Lions should just cut him to force their hand. Like, what world are you living in? But like, again, compare that to Andrew Luck, who retires. And again, we all understand why Andrew Luck retired, but he retired
in the middle of
within
a
month
game.
Before, in the middle of the preseason. Calvin Johnson didn't do that, so you can't hold that against him. One last thing, I know we're over time here, but one of the other big pieces about Calvin Johnson, and we all know about the saga about the money with him that was reclaimed by the Lions, that he felt very upset about, and he's made it known in multiple interviews in the past that he's just estranged from the Lions. However, he did have a conversation with new Lions owner Sheila Ford Hamp, and apparently that went very well. Yeah. So you guys hope or foresee these two parties joining back together at some point, kind of like how Barry eventually came back to the fold?
It certainly seems so. Calvin Johnson had been, the stringiest of like, there aren't any conversations. I don't see, this isn't, just a couple weeks ago, he was saying that on a podcast, saying, still no conversation, still no headway. I'm like, I can't foresee myself walking into the building the way things are right now. And then just out of nowhere, he says, I've had a couple fantastic conversations with Sheila Ford Hamp. I think things are headed in the right direction. That's a huge turnaround. And credit to Sheila Ford Hamp. It's clearly her that's driving this. We all know, it was Rod Wood who originally ticked off Calvin Johnson. That's not a secret anymore. And he's still there, and he's still the team president. And so Sheila Ford is driving the bus now, and she finally seems to be making headway where we asked Rod Wood several times in the past couple of years. He's like, yep, we're working on it. It's a priority. He didn't get it done. Sheila got it done. And it's not completely done at this point, but it sure seems like it's going to get done very, very soon. And I'm thankful, no matter what side you're on of who was in the right, who was in the wrong here, we all want harmony between the two sides. And we're finally, it appears, going to get it, and that's going to benefit everyone. It's going to make the team look a lot better. And it kind of goes in with this culture thing, right? They're all about renewing this team's culture, and they got all these team-friendly or these player-friendly coaches now, and they've got a guy, they got a woman at the top finally reaching out an olive branch, as Ryan said, potentially the best player in Lions history if it weren't for Barry Sanders. And I don't see how anyone can view this as other than fantastic news.
I want Calvin Johnson to be so petty when it comes to getting that money back from the Lions. I want him to be in a room with Rod Wood, and Rod Wood has to sign the check
with interest.
And Rod Wood has to hand it to Calvin Johnson.
And then does he tear it up in front of him? He just tears it up, lights it on fire in front of him.
That would be a huge.
That'd be a ball move.
Yeah. I'd be all about that.
I have a big problem with what Jeremy is saying, and it'll allow me to put on my hardcore exasperated Lion fan pants here. And as much as Jeremy's bringing up things, guess what, Jeremy? It's a Ford leading these conversations. It's a Ford, the blood curse upon her. She can't mend this. They have to sell the team. The Fords never do anything right.
I thought for a second
Did I do that right?
I thought you were going to defend Rod Wood, and I was like, "This."
Oh, absolutely not.
I can't wait for this.
No. Some things are.
He's public enemy number one, right?
Yeah.
In this saga, I do think I'm starting to see they're really building a front office that is kind of pushing him out of the football decision. So that concern of mine is no longer that big of a deal. And to be fair to Rod Wood, and I don't want to be too fair to him because I do still think he bungled this entire thing. It was his third month on the job, second or third. He was way out of his element. And if that's the case, then maybe shut the hell up when you're talking to Calvin Johnson. But at the same time, maybe give him a small, tiny little pass because he didn't know what the hell he was doing. He's not a football guy.
Maybe be enough a human being to be hey, I want that money back. I know
he probably just didn't know it was as sacred as it did. Right?
I don't buy that. I don't buy that. But
I don't know.
I don't
he
know.
wasn't a football guy. He wasn't a football guy. He said it. He didn't know.
In any career, if my boss ever comes up to me and says, "Hey, you got to give some money back," I'm like, "No, absolutely not."
You're not a CEO, Chris. Maybe that's why.
I know. I'm the man who makes people CEOs with my work, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Work as the world rise up.
I don't buy any of that because Rod Wood he was a full-grown adult. He should know that he should know that money matters. Like, no, I'm not going to give him even the slightest pass on that.
You hand me a check, I'm not giving it back to you, Jeremy. I'm just letting you know that right now. All right. Let's take a quick break here. Reset, play some grab ass with our Twitch audience, which is always cut out of the podcast. And again, if you want to catch that grab ass, join us live at twitch.tv/Pride Detroit or our YouTube. Search for Pride Detroit. Once again, the live side of this thing just becoming bigger and bigger, like a massive tumor on our faces or something. At some point, we're just going to turn into a radio show, which would be amazing if we could somehow be on the radio waves in Detroit. If anyone's listening, hit us up. Hey, we just talked about our download numbers. Ooh. But we're taking a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about the Super Bowl. There are some Lions angles to it. And we're going to talk about those Lions angles, including some potential coaches that came out of it, including one who is coming to the Lions, and a former player I want to talk about that isn't Calvin Johnson, and so much more when we come back on the Pride of Detroit POD cast. Okay, we went a bit long there, but we'll play some grab ass. And then you stop hiccuping.
Yes. Let's first talk about... Since people,
I agree. By the way, Israel Dunham on YouTube. Sorry, I just want to put this up. I still remember Clown Boys fans telling me that Dez was better than Calvin Jones. Yeah, I think that's that ship sailed. Dez is not. Dez is flame out from Dallas.
That speaks to the longevity thing, right?
That closed the casket. Yes, it does.
Because Dez Bryant was top of the game for what, 2-3 years?
Yeah.
Then gone.
Yep. CJ was steady.
Yeah. Let me catch up on alerts real quick here. Zolvarius, thank you for the 2 months of Twitch Prime here. He says, hooray for Megatron. Lions 1910. If that's your age, welcome to the oldest person on Twitch, 111 years old, 4 months subscribed to the channel, and Jumpty just gave out 5 gifted subs, so we are up to 7 out of 100 to save the stash this week. You have until the end of our post-game show, which is how we somehow saved it last week in the post-game show.
Jesus Christ.
The other thing I want to say to our Twitch chat that is new, obviously a couple of you have noticed the green screen I have behind me. It's something that I just kind of wanted to do so you didn't have all the distracting stuff behind me. But also there's an opportunity to have a little bit of fun with it. If you're here on Twitch, 20,000 channel points, and I will change the background to something of your choosing for the rest of the show. That being said, it has to be appropriate. And I have to be able to find a picture of it. So there you go.
Which is it's weird though, because if Jeremy,
it's already redeemed.
Oh jeez.
Oh no.
Oh, don't worry. I already came prepared for that. I showed it during the what do you call it? The man sim. So I don't even have to download a picture. It's already here. Let me just pull it in. There you go. There you go.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
He was consumed by the mozzarella stick. Right,
you know, that's what I was literally going to say. The other thing that we should say about that green screen is that it wouldn't be possible without you people from Twitch who are doing such an awesome job supporting the podcast, the live podcast, especially as well. So without all of your very generous donations and whatnot, and spending your time here with us, I think that's just as valuable too. So
100%.
Thank you again.
Yep. I mean, we had record, and Chris was talking about the record month we had in January in terms of our downloads. Twitch was almost double the numbers that we normally do.
Yep.
Both in terms of viewership and support. YouTube is blowing the hell up as well. So let's not forget the people over there on YouTube. I think
and I know the easy answer is like, well, we had plenty to talk about in January, fair, but we
True.
also kicked ass in February.
Yes, we did. I mean, I think
in January. Damn it.
But yeah, I mean, even our Matthew Stafford trade podcast, I think we had a ton of financial support from YouTube as well, and during that show, which is something we're not necessarily asking for, but we certainly appreciate as well. So all of that sort of stuff, we're trying to make it fun for you guys and pay back in any sort of way. But
we're trying, man. And I know me and Jeremy, we've talked about we're gonna do some more streams, more Twitch exclusive, and I mean Twitch and YouTube. It's super chat or whatever Jeremy calls it. So we stream to both, but we're going to do some more events, probably not related to POD cast. I know I was talking with Jeremy. I might try to jump on and do some stuff there, but just to hang out with you guys. As always, I've always pushed with this podcast as this is a chance to grow community, because radio shows at the end of the day, I grew up listening to a lot of radio shows, even calling into some sports talk radio shows. And at their core, it's not just listening to some old guy bloviate about hot takes. It's a community of people who either listen or call in or that kind of stuff. And I think me and Jeremy unconsciously basically have been racking our brains about how that, what does that version of that look like in 2021. So
we're working on it.
I mean, I'm seeing other SB Nation blogs jumping on having both a Discord and a Twitch, and oh my God.
All right, let me catch up on some alerts real quick, because before Joshua even dropped that 25 bomb, and I just did not add correctly. There we go. We had Troy Barnes come in here, a friend of the show, 3-month subscribe. Katie dropped 300 bits. Big Al dropped 100 bits. Patman dropped 100 bits. Chesterfield gifted a sub out to, I have to scroll up at this point, Bobby Grimes. And then Joshua Mercer, who one of the biggest supporters in January, really since he's been around, 25 gifted subs to the community. We're at 34. We're a third of the way and about a third of the way through the show, which means, I don't know. I really thought this was going to be a week. I feel like I say that every week. I thought, given how close we were to missing it last week, I thought this was the week. It was just like, all right, the momentum is gone at this point. But I should have known
that until the end of time. Like, that's just going to be a permanent feature.
Make a promise, Jeremy. Make a promise to our crowd right now that if we reach the subscription total that we're looking for, your new Twitter profile picture will be you with the stash.
Have you seen it lately?
Guaranteed it. Guaranteed. You got to guarantee it.
No. An actual stash, not anything that's Photoshop.
Not a drawn-on one?
Yeah, no, that doesn't count.
So I did not realize this was true. I thought this was a regional thing, but apparently, there's the Zazu cameo. I got to get you a picture of Ruby for the request Ruby cameo, but he's being. Oh, someone already requested a Ruby cameo, buddy. He's Ruby cameo. IOU. He's asleep. I'm not picking him up. The thing is that my couch is way behind me, so maybe I can show you a little bit. I can't really zoom in though. You can see him there, orange lump. I'm sorry. I should be able to do better than that. Sorry, real quick. I guess this Detroit style pizza from Pizza Hut is a real thing, and apparently I can get it in LA.
Yeah, it's true. I actually won one in a bet with my friend for the Super Bowl. I won, I guess I should say, because I don't know if it's going to actually taste good or not. He said it tasted good, and I'm like, all right. I
saw Twitch saying it tasted like they just threw some like salsa on top of a sauceless pizza. Little Caesars has had deep dish they've had that for at least like almost 10 years, guys.
Yeah, Zion is the one that says it's bad.
Theirs is fine, but yeah.
D-Man, thank you for the 300 bits, and Lions 1910, again, thank you for the 1 bit. Appreciate you. But yeah, I'll be back with the reviews maybe for next podcast to see just how bad it is.
On stream.
Would you guys actually want me to
Well, apparently, remember when I was starving and I ate my beef rice bowl on stream?
Yeah.
Apparently, I was told by our Discord that people. Well, first off, Twitch chat liked that, and also B, I was told by Discord that's apparently like a big thing for like Chinese streamers or whatnot. People just eating their lunch on videos.
I don't have any interest in that, to be honest. I don't want to watch my streamers eat food. That's kind of gross.
Apparently that's a thing in like Japan and China and whatnot. I don't know.
No, teach their own.
Which means we're gonna have to start having lunch streams. McGregor, he wants a impromptu list cast before we get back into it. McGregor, you got to tell us what kind of list cast you want. What do you want us to list?
Yeah. So in case you don't know how that works, McGregor, you just give a topic like top 5 pizza chains.
Just type it in right now.
We'll probably do 3
into Twitch chat, and we'll do it before we get back into it.
But thank you for all that. The hype train. What was that? Level 5. Level 5 completed.
Yes, we got all the way up to level 5. We got there
done,
pretty
y'all.
quick too.
QB
draft rating.
Uh-oh. I might be out of my element here.
I can give my 5.
All right.
Just talking about the 2021 NFL draft.
I'm assuming so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll give one off. I'll shoot from the hip as well for 5, but you go first.
Okay, sure. I'll say 5 is gonna be.
Now you're going from the bottom. I like it.
Yeah. I don't know. 5 is tough.
That's why I want to start at the top.
I'm gonna punt on 5. I'm not gonna give you a number 5. Number 4 is gonna be Mac Jones.
Okay.
I work for Mac Jones.
That's the only reason why I want the Lions to draft him. I don't think he'll be any good in the NFL, but just for that drop that Chris could use forever. I would love that. Number 3 is going to be Trey Lance. I think he's a really big project at this point.
Yeah.
So he's just kind of like a big ball of clay. Not too sure what to do with him, especially because he hasn't played any FBS teams. So that's tricky. A lot of projection there. I'm going to say my number 2 is Justin Fields. And then I'm going to say number 1, obviously, is Trevor Lawrence. I don't like Zach Wilson.
So I was going to say, you're not even putting Zach Wilson at your 5.
I put him at 6.
Okay. Behind who? Kyle Trask? Jamie Newman?
Oh, God. No, sorry. Never mind. I'll put Zach Wilson at 5. No, Kyle Trask.
Let me tell you, after 5, it's
Trask.
a precipitous drop-off, man. You're looking at, like, Kellen Mond.
I think after 1, there's a pretty big drop-off.
Sam Ellinger.
Well, there's a lot of question marks after 1 for sure, Jeremy.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's what I think makes this. I know people. I mean, that's why I liked the trade that we made with the Rams versus some of these other trades that would have got us, picks this year. Is that this quarterback draft class? I'm sorry, it's just not good. And people keep saying, "Oh, 2022 draft class is going to be worse." How the fuck do you know? Like, seriously, Joe Burrow came out of nowhere. What are you talking about next year isn't going to be good?
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. You're looking at this and telling me Trevor Lawrence, like Justin Fields is an Ohio State quarterback. I don't know if that translates to the NFL. That makes it rough. And Zach Wilson, everyone's going to bring the BYU thing along. And Trey Lance, people like Trey Lance, but he's got a lot of limitations. I'm
curious how high people would be on Justin Fields if it weren't for that semifinal game in the playoffs, because I don't feel like the hype was on him that big. And then
well, I think
to his credit, he had a fantastic game, but it was one game.
For me, and maybe this is unfair to Justin Fields, but for me, it's the same problem I have looking at a guy like Tua Tagovailoa or Mac Jones when I look at the history of Alabama quarterbacks before them. I'm looking now at the history of Ohio State quarterbacks before Justin Fields in the past few years. And I'm sorry, none of them have been good.
I don't
that's
doing that,
but that's the thing. It's a little unfair, but at the same time, in college football, you run a system. You run systems in there. It is not like individual talent. Even Patrick Mahomes had a system when he was at Texas Tech. Like these guys aren't showing you off their raw potential out there every game. So I don't know what it is with Justin Fields. I don't. I can give you my 5 though.
Yeah, go for it.
So I mean, mine's going to sound a lot like Ryan's, except I'm not going to be as down on Zach Wilson. I've got Mac Jones. I've got Trey Lance 5, actually, and I've got Mac Jones 4. I know Mac Jones' lack of mobility has people scared, but I think he has far less limitations than a Trey Lance. After that, Justin Fields is 3, Zach Wilson is 2, and Trevor Lawrence is 1.
So who did you leave out? You leave Trey Lance out of your top 5?
No, Trey Lance was my 5. Trey Lance was my 5.
Oh. Okay.
Trey Lance, Mac Jones, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think... I'll be honest, I haven't watched a ton of college football, and I'm just about to dip my toe. Like, Trevor Lawrence is my number 1. I think I'm putting Zach Wilson number 2, and that's mostly based off the opinion of other people, if I'm being completely honest. I don't think I've seen a BYU game in the past couple of years, so I'm more trusting other people than I am myself. Then I think I guess, Justin Fields. I'm not feeling great about him. I don't know if I have a number. You can take some
flyers on a few of these guys in the second, but I'm terrified. This, like, as we've seen with this, we're going to talk about this later in the podcast about the quarterback free agency market. There's a lot of teams out there that are starved for quarterbacks right now. And I could see, I'm looking at a list right now that goes 10 deep, and I could see all 10 guys get taken before the end of the second round. Even Sam Ehlinger, who I think is awful.
The one thing I will say is I was watching some film with Reno on his Twitch stream of Trey Lance, and I came away the exact opposite of impressed.
He only played one game last year. One game.
And his 2019 film isn't very good.
Yeah.
He runs the ball a lot, and that's great, and that's something that I think teams are looking for these days, but his arm did not look impressive to me at all. Like, not even a little bit.
And that's the difference between him and Mac Jones for me. Because Mac Jones, he might be a statue in the pocket. He might not be able to move, but at least he's accurate. And at least he can throw.
Really quick on alerts, because a couple notable subscribers here. Baltimore Beatdown, our good friends over there. Baltimore Beatdown. We just were talking about him. Tier 1 sub for 4 months. He says, save the stash. And then my friend Conanized over a popular Fortnite streamer over there who has a mustache even more majestic than myself, also subscribed for 4 months. He says, keep the mustache.
Baltimore Beatdown. By the way, I want to reach out to you guys about Discord stuff. So if you want to reach to me on Discord, I think you are in our Discord, Christopher Fett, DM me there. I think it's, by the way, we should talk about the Pride of Detroit Discord before we get back into it.
Sure. Real quick. I'll throw the link here in chat.
Yeah, Jeremy is throwing the link. If you are in chat for Twitch, I'm going to copy the link and put it into the YouTube chat. It is in there right now. You can join our Discord community. It is growing. We are, I looked up the other day and we were over 500 strong on there with active posting. It's getting big. And this next coming 2 weeks, I am going to be hammering out some stuff to change us to a community style Discord, which means we get certain features. Like we're going to have I'm going to have a channel so that you can be subscribed to it. So basically you can get push notifications whenever there's a Pride of Detroit article that's pushed out. And that goes straight, if you have the Discord app on your phone, it'll go straight to there if you subscribe to the channel. We are looking at several other things. I'm going to have pulling in some new robots, making some new roles. We're going to set some server ground rules because we did have 3 Bears fans show up and act like dicks, and that needs to be dealt with immediately. It's just that this thing has grown so big very quickly. I've had a lot of great conversations with everyone over there. We're going to add a couple more channels, and it's been going strong, and it's a great place to hang out during the off season. If you have any kind of questions, people are ready. We have off-topic stuff, too. If you want to talk about other sports, Reno, I know, is always in sports chat.
Talking video games, too.
To talk Red Wings, video game
and
channel.
If you're a streamer, feel free, we're okay with you promoting your streams in our video game channel.
Yeah, I might create our own channel for, promote your own stuff, just in case someone else has, some other campaign they want to promote or something. We're going to have a promotion channel, I think. We also got plenty of pictures of food and pets and a fantasy football channel.
Well, that one I have muted.
Yes, I know you have it. We have armchair GMs. People have asked for a film tape room, so I'm going to add that. Someone was asking about a gambling channel, but I don't think Jeremy. Ryan's nodding his head.
If you want to, that's fine.
That would get me on Discord.
Okay, we'll add a gambling channel then. We'll add the Bovada King Rome. All right, we should get back into it. We should get back into it. I think we've like more than doubled our time away from the mic.
But it's because we love Twitch and we love YouTube.
As I said, man, we could easily do this as like a radio show or something. We could do the Levitard experience or whatever. Like, this empire has no limit, except for you guys. You'll propel us there with diamond hands.
Jazz hands.
All right. Diamond hands. That's what got GameStop to the moon. All right. Welcome back to the Pride of Detroit PODcast. Had plenty of fun during the break, and now we are back. If you're listening pre-recorded, thank you, because your downloads still obscenely matter. And once again, 100,000 for the month of January. So we love you there. I know. I kind of get our relation with the live streaming thing is weird because we love you guys there too. But I feel like we never mind. Let's talk about the Super Bowl. The big game. It was bad. I didn't like it.
It was boring. Boring.
There's some Lions angles, but real quick, just as sports fans here, like I say it was the worst Super Bowl I've seen, and I was stuck in a Manhattan Beach apartment with a bunch of Patriots fans for Pats Rams that one year. And this was worse than that.
I mean,
I knew it was going to suck.
I knew it was going to suck because every storyline had already been like a retread at this point. Like, Tom Brady getting a Super Bowl doesn't get anyone excited. He's already lapped everyone in that. And Patrick Mahomes is exciting and fun, but I mean, back-to-back Super Bowls isn't that exciting to me either. I wanted some sort of fresh storyline, and we weren't going to get it. And unfortunately, we probably got the worst of the two possible outcomes because it's fun watching Patrick Mahomes doing Patrick Mahomes things. And sorry about like everyone like going crazy over incomplete passes. That didn't do it for me. Him throwing with his body sideways and it falling incomplete, great. You want to try to make a highlight out of that? Sure. Let's go crazy over an incomplete. No, it sucked. It was a bad Super Bowl, and we were all, dumber than where we. Never mind. It was just bad. It was bad.
Ryan, take it away here before I just vociferously disagree with Jeremy.
No, we were all worse for this Super Bowl. This was the 2020 of Super Bowls, that's for sure. I mean, it was bad from like start to finish, and it was things like 20 some odd yard punts, and the Chiefs' inability to plan for 2 weeks to mitigate the problems with missing both your tackles. Like, I don't know. Sounds like the guy who's the offensive coordinator really should be a head coach.
Well, we'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah, but in general, like Jeremy said, I think nobody was excited to see Brady literally have more Super Bowls than any team now in the NFL. Like, Brady has more Super Bowls. That's, I don't know, stupid. That'll never, like we always say, like, that record will never be topped, or like that statistic will never be bested. It's like that'll never ever be touched. There's no way. Not even Patrick Mahomes can do it. But yeah,
even Joe Montana could do it in the sense that Brady's now won it with two different teams.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Montana had a chance, but
he had a chance and it didn't. I disagree that there were no good storylines going into it though, because I think that there were a lot of people rooting for Patrick Mahomes, and for me at least, like, I'm not as down on Tom Brady as I used to be. I think at this point, like, I don't know, you want to root against him, but at the same time, like, it's hard to top those kind of records. And it's hard to top that push for, I'm not going to sit here and lick the man's taint or whatever, but that push for greatness, that push for that kind of record. But like, it was Tampa Bay, at least. Also, I will say this about Tampa Bay, to get away from Tom Brady, I didn't hate Tampa Bay this year. No, Tampa Bay was Tampa Bay was the team you put together when you're playing Madden franchise mode. Right. How many names do you recognize in on that Tampa Bay team? Jason Pierre-Paul, Tom Brady, Ndamukong Suh, more on him in a second. Mike Evans, Rob Gronkowski, Antonio Brown, Leonard Fournette. There was someone else in the secondary for the Bucs that I'm forgetting right now. That was a big name.
Antoine Winfield Jr.
And Antoine Winfield. For me, I'm a Trojan. Ronald Jones getting a ring is also pretty good. Like that was a team of just. I'm like I don't even know how Tampa Bay put that together. It's like a team that I really wanted like 3 years ago.
Can I insert my hot take?
What's your hot
right now?
What's that?
If the Lions want a blueprint for how to rebuild, Tampa Bay Buccaneers might be it.
What, to just get all reclamation projects?
No, in terms of their defense, like their defense won them that Super Bowl.
Oh,
like,
yeah. Yes.
Let's not get anything twisted. I mean, the fact that, I mean, it was some ungodly amount of pressures that they were able to get on Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
The Chiefs weren't able to do anything they wanted on offense because of the pressure that Todd Bowles dialed up. I mean, you mentioned some of the defensive players. You didn't even mention Shaq Barrett, one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, and he was flexing all game long. You got Devin White, who is exactly what the Lions would love to have at linebacker. And I'm not. This isn't a TJ Hawkinson thing. This is the Lions have been so starved for a linebacker since DeAndre Levy that, like, I don't know. Just looking at that defense, it's like that's like what the Lions need to get fast, and they need to get explosive players, because that's what really popped off to me every single time I watched Kansas City's offense try to do anything. It was like Tampa's defense won't give an inch.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Todd Bowles, because the Lions, in case people forgot, the Lions were scheduled, Jeremy, to meet with Todd Bowles to inquire about him as one of their head coaching candidates before they hired Dan Campbell. Todd Bowles' stock, I think it is up after this Super Bowl.
No question. And I think a lot of people are questioning why he didn't get more of a head coaching shot. There were other teams, I think, that interviewed him, and the Lions, according to Bowles, canceled on him. And he got the sense that they had already made up their minds about Dan Campbell at that point, which is, I don't know. I mean, we talked extensively about how thorough the Lions' GM search was. They interviewed 13 or so people. Head coaching search wasn't as thorough, but it could have been a timing thing. It could have been we're really big fans of Dan Campbell. We might have to wait a really long time for Todd Bowles. Let's just make this move so he can start building a staff.
And I think that did pay. That has paid off, considering the staff they've built.
But it also is a little short-sighted, right? Like your coordinators and your position coaches, they come and go, and they might work out, they might not work out. You really want to get the head coaching hire right. And I'm not saying they did or didn't. And I'm not saying Todd Bowles is a sure thing. We know it didn't work out with the Jets.
I was going to say that's probably why he didn't get a lot of calls.
Right. Maybe it is. It's an interesting thing to think about. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that the Lions made the wrong decision. It's just something that we'll probably think about down the road if things go the wrong way.
Yeah, I'm going to push back a little bit, just because we know that Aaron Glenn was such a hot commodity that the Bears and the Jaguars both wanted him. If the Lions had sat around waiting for Todd Bowles, they would not have Aaron Glenn right now.
Never would have Deuce Staley either. A bunch of guys.
Or Deuce Staley, or probably not Anthony Lynn either.
Yeah.
Like this entire roster, this entire coaching staff would not look like this if they had sat around waiting for the Super Bowl to be done, either for Todd Bowles or Eric Bieniemy, who Ryan, after this game, wow. I know he had a lot of red flags about him going forward, even though there were a lot of prominent people pounding the drum for Eric Bieniemy, but talk about getting exposed. And again, I think a lot of that does come back to the offensive line that Kansas City fielded for this game, which is unfortunate because they were banged up and they were missing starters, and they did start Mike Remmers as the left tackle, which is not going to be good. But I mean, they denied key weapons. Tampa Bay denied key weapons from Kansas City, and they had, like, Tyreek Hill could get some catches, but they had no other. They could not do anything this game, and that kind of falls on Bieniemy just got outfoxed by Todd Bowles.
And it comes back to what I said earlier. If you have 2 weeks to prepare for not having your two tackles, I'd really hope you have a much better game plan than what they had. There wasn't a lot of stuff where I saw like an extra tight end in. I mean, why not have two running backs in the backfield, especially when you have the guys that you have with Kansas City? Why not have two guys in the backfield and be blocking and chipping and releasing? And I don't know. It
Yeah,
just seemed
Kelsey was in a phone booth the entire game. Like, you had no answer for that.
yeah, and that's what I think Todd Bowles had mentioned. One of the keys to success for the defense was they wanted to take away Patrick Mahomes' first read because they knew that they could get to him. So, you know, kudos to Todd Bowles for, having an awesome game plan, and poo-poo on Eric Bieniemy for, it's funny how a lot of people in national media got real quiet about Eric Bieniemy after he got his lunch fed to him.
Let me play, and this isn't actually me playing devil's advocate. It's pushing back kind of a lot here, because anytime Kansas City did anything good on offense, who got the credit? Andy Reid. Mm-hmm. It's the reason a lot of people say Eric Bieniemy ain't shit, because that's Andy Reid's offense. He's doing all the things. Eric Bieniemy is just a standhold. So now, once bad things happen, it's all on Eric Bieniemy?
No, I think some of this is on Andy Reid too. Because I mean, didn't we see this pattern? Didn't we see this pattern when he was in Philadelphia too, where he his career there starts very well, and then it kind of feels like the Andy Reid system kind of gets figured out. I'm really curious.
As early as last year, people were saying Andy Reid ain't shit either. They're saying he couldn't make it in the big games. But I mean, Andy Reid is calling plays, which means he's calling protections, which means the fact that the Chiefs had 5-man protections on 92% of the snaps in the Super Bowl when they're missing their two top tight ends and two top tackles, I should say, and Patrick Mahomes is running for his goddamn life. That's Andy Reid. That's Andy Reid.
I think.
Period.
I think some of it's on Bieniemy too.
Why?
But then hold up. But then if it's all Andy Reid, then what's to say we start with Bieniemy in the first place? This is the weird chicken and egg thing. I know I'm agreeing with you in that we're in a weird chicken and egg conundrum, a paradox when it comes to Bieniemy and Reid. I don't know. I guess we're using Bieniemy as the stand-in to saying, hey, whoever was scheming this up and preparing for Kansas City to go out there with Mike Remmers as a left tackle just didn't do a good job.
Yeah, they got outcoached. I think we can all agree with that. They got outcoached. And I guess you can point to whoever you want to point to, but I don't think it's fair that we're just, oh, look, everyone was wrong about Eric Bieniemy. Like, first of all, it's one game. Let's not do that. But
it's the one you want to win.
Oh, sure. But I think Lions fans would be pretty happy with the season the Chiefs just put up.
I would, but I also, as I put on Twitter, we all sit here and say things like the Chiefs will be back here. Yeah, it's fine, but the Chiefs will come back to the Super Bowl. Are we sure about that? Because it's been how many years now? Russell Wilson and the Seahawks aren't back to the Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers, the Green Bay Packers, aren't back to the Super Bowl. Drew Brees retires with one Super Bowl ring. You can keep going back further and further too. People thought Dan Marino would keep going to the Super Bowl. He didn't. These things don't always turn into dynasties. These things can evaporate before your eyes, and it'll be painful. It'll be really painful if we don't see Patrick Mahomes back here.
Yeah, I think what I was really trying to get at, Jeremy, was this sense that Dan Campbell is being held up against Eric Bieniemy when he was hired, and it was like, well, why is this meathead getting a job when Eric Bieniemy's doing such a great job in Kansas City?
Right. I thought that was ridiculous.
And I understand that, I think the blame lies in a gray area, right? All of the success can't be attributed to Andy Reid, and just like all of the failure can't be attributed to Eric Bieniemy. But it's just really frustrating, I think, as a Lions fan locally, to see the national media try to spin something in a way that is completely unfair.
Right. And
if we're now looking at where a team is, if they were going to hire Eric Bieniemy, what position are they in now? Not only are you getting a guy who didn't have the greatest showing in the Super Bowl, but you're also getting a guy who, look at how picked over the market is when it comes to coordinators and position coaches and things like that. So I mean,
it's impossible not to draw parallels to Matt Patricia, right? You waited all this time for a guy who got his ass kicked in the Super Bowl. Great. How are Lions fans feeling the Monday morning after that?
Who did we hire? Yeah, we were boxed into a corner when it came to the Lions hiring a defensive coordinator because they waited that long for Patricia.
You're right. And so then the question becomes, does the NFL need to fundamentally change their hiring process?
Maybe.
Just not let anyone hire anyone until after the Super Bowl or something like that.
I mean, maybe like have agreements in place, but nothing's official.
Yeah, I mean, like that's kind of how it goes with college right now. Like, there's guys who are playing in the national championship game who are like, yeah, I'm about ready to go, and next year I'm going to be the head coach at Ole Miss or something.
Yeah. Well, I think they kind of have that sort of. I mean, we all knew Matt Patricia was getting hired, right? That wasn't a secret. Mm-hmm. Matt Patricia knew he was getting hired. Like, I think they have backhand agreements in place. They just can't get to work until after the Super Bowl.
And the problem is like that staff matters so much at the NFL level that it's still even if you have an agreement in place, it's still a log jam while you're trying to figure out, like, get the guy in the door so then he can put his staff together.
Right. 100%.
All right, real quick, a couple more things. One more coach to mention out there, Byron Leftwich. You guys think his stock probably goes up, the offensive coordinator for Tampa Bay?
Absolutely. I mean, Ryan, I think he was the guy that you mentioned that you wanted on the candidate list. Am I not wrong there?
Yeah, you're right. He was there with Matt Campbell, and just the wrong Campbell again. So like that whole trope. But yeah, I mean, I think Byron Leftwich did a ton to improve his stock. Maybe not this year, but certainly. I mean, if you're the Houston Texans, why aren't you calling about Byron Leftwich?
Well, it's too late for them at this point.
Late.
But
no, if you're reading this Texans, it's too late.
Fire your old new coach, and move on to Byron Leftwich. I don't understand how they're not building any trade offers for Deshaun Watson. That's another story. But Byron Leftwich.
Wow. Yeah. We'll talk about Watson in the next thing, because the quarterback market that's come out from Stafford is fascinating for Lions fans. For Lions fans, 2 more points here though. First off, I mentioned Ndamukong Suh. He's got a ring, baby. I mean, I know why we don't hold up Suh as the Lions icon at the same level as like a Calvin Johnson. But man, I don't know. I felt good that Suh got a ring. Not gonna lie.
Hey, as I put out on Twitter, he got the bag when he left Detroit. He's got the ring now. Time to bring it full circle. Bring him back.
Oh God,
run it back, baby. Run it back. He does business here. He loves Detroit. He told the media during Super Bowl week he loves Detroit. He thinks highly of Dan Campbell. He played with Dan Campbell played for, I guess I should say, Dan Campbell.
In Miami.
Yeah. Bring him home, baby.
What do you think,
hate
Ryan?
that. I wouldn't hate that at all. I think that would be awesome. Like,
right?
If everybody remembers correctly, and he's obviously not the same player he once was, because he's God, man, we're 8 years removed from Ndamukong Suh. Gosh,
he put a good lick on Patrick Mahomes. I think it was a kind of dirty hit. I think he hit him high.
Yeah, I did see my timeline flare up with, look at Suh. There goes Suh again, being Suh. But I mean, come on, like, those veteran presences, those are appreciated. And a guy like Suh, who was a monster even back in college, I thought he was 3rd in Heisman voting coming in Nebraska, and I thought he should. If there was ever a case for a defensive player to win the Heisman in college, it was Ndamukong Suh. And he carried that into the NFL. I know Miami didn't go well for him, but I mean, he was a monster in Detroit, and he was productive to get, help lead a Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense to a Super Bowl ring.
As an interior defensive lineman, he was never going to be able to live up to the contract that he signed in Miami at all.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Because there's only one player in the NFL that plays on the defensive line that you can justify giving that kind of money, and it's Aaron Donald.
We almost had him too. Almost had
him. Almost. But it was so mind-blowing when Suh made the jump to LA, right? Like, all of a sudden now it's like they have Aaron Donald and they have Ndamukong Suh.
Right.
Like, I mean,
Another connection to the Lions again there.
He's been to 2 Super Bowls now, right?
Yeah.
Yes, he has. Yeah. He's batting 50-50.
Maybe he can be the Lion that comes back this year and does the whole, this team's built to win a Super Bowl thing.
Yeah.
I've been on a Super Bowl.
We call that the Reggie Ragland.
The Reggie Ragland. Yeah. Real quick, I'm sorry. I know we're going late here. One more coach to mention from the Super Bowl. I'm glad we haven't talked about the commercials or halftime, because it feels like psychic damage every time I think about one of those awful commercials and the Super Bowl. I mean, and the halftime show. Like, Ryan, I like The Weeknd, but that, as a sound engineer, that was a horribly mixed halftime show.
just absolutely botched. I feel so bad for the guy because I think he had like an
People-
awesome concept, and like a lot of this
People
stuff
apparently didn't like the
visually was
concept.
really cool.
Well,
those
I know. I mean,
people are
older.
losers.
Yeah, they're old. Yeah.
Do you know what I heard on 90? We're going to talk about this just real quick, but I heard on 97 one day, they were like, how do you fix the Super Bowl halftime show? Because it was so terrible.
Oh God, here it comes. Are you going to say they want Metallica there?
Essentially, yeah, because they were like, they have to have had like 20 to 30 years of experience as musicians.
What?
Yeah. Like,
So
yeah,
the
just
Super
boomer
Bowl's
radio.
coming to. The Super Bowl's coming to Los Angeles next year, and I've already heard someone say they got to get the Foo Fighters to do the halftime show, which marginally better than Metallica, but you can't tell me that a vibrant city like Los Angeles, the best you can come up with is Foo Fighters. You're kind of misreading where your generation is going. Anyway, Antoine Randall L. Real quick, I know we're like.
I know you said we shouldn't talk about the halftime show, and then we just did.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Antoine Randall L. So he is a guy who has a Super Bowl ring, who did coach for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he's coming to. I'm sorry. Yeah,
reportedly, yes. It is
reportedly as a wide receivers coach. Once again, Jeremy, another NFL player turned coach coming to the Detroit Lions.
Dan Campbell certainly has a type, and he actually, I think he went out and told, I can't remember, either MLive or I think it was the Detroit News, he told, like, look, I'm not specifically looking for former players, but I'm looking for guys who know how to coach people up and are smart. And a lot of those people are former players. And so it's an interesting kind of, I already see people trying to build Madden teams from these guys from their early 2000s careers.
Yeah,
and
John Whitaker, I think, is doing that. Yeah.
It's fun and it's interesting, and I like it. I think it makes a lot of sense in terms of getting people that know the game and getting people that know how to motivate. I mean, these aren't just players from like the 60s and 70s and 80s. These are current, guys that were playing when I was still watching when I was first watching the game, and those are the guys that can probably relate to players the best.
And very importantly, Jeremy, that they did play in the NFL. Like a lot of coaches, like they'll peak at like a smaller college or even a bigger college, or they'll be like an undrafted free agent, rookie quarterback for like a year or so, but then they'll go right onto the coaching track. But I've heard from some former players about how hard it is sometimes to get on those coaching tracks, like on those coaching tree programs that they have for former NFL players. If you are kind of a more established player like that, you're always going to be kept seemingly always at an assistant level, that it's very hard to move up and become the kind of guy that Dan Campbell is right now. And I feel like that probably influences him more than anything, because he went through that track, and he and Aaron Glenn both went through that track, that they had to battle through, these presumptions about where they would end up, that there were other guys who were coaching longer, who were going to be smarter than them, even though they hadn't played at the NFL level, that they were always going to be subservient to those guys. So I think maybe some of that is Dan Campbell realizing that. And again, I've said the hypothesis of this Lions coaching staff is former NFL players can be great coaches as well. Yeah. So we're going to see if that holds up.
Brian, what are your thoughts about Antoine Randall, former Indiana quarterback, has the best passer rating of anyone in the NFL who's ever thrown at least 10 passes?
Yeah, and also has maybe one of the biggest throws in the history of the Super Bowl.
True.
Super Bowl 40, Detroit. I read an interesting article about Antoine Randall from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, talking about, how he regretted playing football just in general. Yeah. And it's interesting he's a coach now, but in the article he talked a little bit about how it was just so hard on his body, and he was actually drafted, I think, like in the 13th or 14th round in the MLB draft, but his parents made him go to school, so he couldn't take the baseball offer. So but now he's found himself coaching, and I think it's awesome that you get a guy who has that kind of versatility of knowledge, right? Like, I mean, like he understands like the quarterback position, he understands the wide receiver position. So I like that dynamic to it. Yeah.
And I think, I can't remember, I think it might have been Chris Burke of The Athletic said, like, love to see what he does with Jamal Agnew.
Yeah.
If Agnew's back, I think that's a great fit, and that's a great observation. I mean, those two could have kind of similar career arcs if Jamal Agnew can figure it out on the wide receiver part, and that's a great guy to learn from.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I got distracted by something there. Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I think what's missing right now, Jeremy, for the coaching staff is just linebackers coach.
Outside linebacker coach. They got an inside linebacker. Yep, they still need an outside linebacker coach.
Okay. Well, this puzzle's almost complete. Just missing that one big piece, snap in the back of your head like that meme. We're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, I know it's not completely Lions related, but again, I feel like in the offseason, we do spread our wings a little bit, and there's a lot of stuff. We like to bring a full measure to the Lions fan, because I think we're gonna talk about the free agent market right now, and especially when it comes to quarterbacks, what kind of reverberations have come from the Lions and their trade with the Rams of Matthew Stafford that has maybe impacted the NFC North, depending on what happens in the coming days. So we're going to keep an eye on that. I also have a note here, and I have it highlighted. Ryan has a hot take about Carolina's offer for Stafford that did not go through. And we're going to talk some more about miscellaneous NFL trades, what the upcoming free agency market is going to look like for other positions. We're going to take care of all that as we wrap up the show here next on the Pride of Detroit PODcast. Jeremy, I've been told on Twitter that the Discord link is invalid in Twitch and YouTube.
Okay. My apologies.
So what I would say get it updated. What I would say is, like, when you make an invite link, you can change the, it always expires after one day. You can set it to never expires and no limit. So
I did. I don't know why it's not working.
It might have, I think even the no expiry ones just expire sometimes. Okay. So it's fine.
Let me get that done right meow, and then we'll catch up on alerts in a minute, because we did have another 25 bomb in there. So
we did have another 25 one. Patman 70. I like you more every day, Chris. Thank you. I appreciate that. I don't
custom Discord.
There's a lot of talk. I didn't want to talk about the officiating in the Super Bowl because I find that a little weak, but I mean, Kansas City obviously the recipient of some bad calls and a lot of penalty yards.
All right, should be fixed. Let me just do a test.
Nothing, Ryan?
Sorry, I was paying attention to Penn State, Michigan State. My bad.
Oh, you got you. How much money you got on that?
Just enough. I think that'll always be my answer for everything.
Just
I'll turn you up a little bit, by the way, because I think you're a little quiet on my end. There we go.
Yeah, right, I had to turn up on mine.
Let me get up to alerts here. Here we go. Where were we? Joshua Mercer gave out the 25 gifted subs of Zolvo with the 4 months on Twitch Prime, and then Big L with the 199 bits, says Joshua Mercer, for the win. So I need to up this, 26 more? So 26 plus 37 is 63, I believe we're at, if I'm not mistaken. Math seem legit there, chat. Did you guys see the tweet of Kelvin standing in front of a mountain of weed? I did not.
Stay off the weed.
No, you're at 95. Very funny. Very funny. No. Sell your razor. I mean, at this point, I think I might have to. I haven't even trimmed this thing. It's just like, I can blade it. Gets in my mouth now. I think when I was at the dentist, they literally pulled a mustache hair out of my mouth.
Jesus Christ.
It's all you guys, chat. You did this.
You got to get it trimmed.
I mean, is that allowed, chat? Am I allowed to trim it? Is that part of the rules?
You can maintain it. You can manscape
it.
All right. Maybe I'll trim it. We'll see. I've never done it, and I feel like I'm going to have it uneven and it'll look weird. I'm scared.
The other thing from that halftime show on the weekend, Ryan, was people very weirded out by the masks. Like, I don't think some people understood what they didn't see the lead up to it. And honestly, I think maybe on TV they looked more like there was this one weird Japanese movie I saw where it was basically like a superhero who wore like women's panties over his face.
Oh, dope.
That kind of reminded me of that.
Yeah,
you just don't want to talk about this.
No, it was part of like this like whole bit, right, that he was doing
No, but he had done that leading up to it, where his face was bandaged or something.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I think you had to have been in on the ground floor with that. Otherwise, you thought it was just some weird guy being artsy for artsy's sake.
Yeah, I think also I saw some people trying to turn it into like a COVID-19 this is propaganda, wear a face mask liberals kind of thing too, which is stupid, but
yeah, dumb.
I don't know. I've seen a lot of weird takes over the someone put me up to. I didn't realize this, but apparently Larry Johnson is completely insane now.
Oh yeah, yes, I knew.
Yeah, he jumped the shark a while ago.
I know, but someone was telling me about it because he said that there was some sort of that halftime show was some sort of satanic ritual or something. And then first thing I see when I popped onto his account was he was saying that players taking a knee in the NFL is also a Masonic ritual to summon the god Baal.
Okay.
I think I saw something too that what's the name of the young linebacker for the Bucs that got the last interception?
Devin White,
and like
number 45.
Yeah, that means Trump is coming back because he's the 45th president.
Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah, there's some wild things out there. We did get another list cast request for this break. The 5 most Lions losses. Let's make that 3 because I feel like we'd have to prepare a long time for 5.
Yeah, that might actually have to become a full like that. That will be not a greatly downloaded podcast, I'm sure, but that could become a full one sometime. Top 3 most Lions losses.
I'll say the very first one that comes to mind for me is the Hail Mary Titans game, in which Titus Young scores the game-tying Hail Mary touchdown, only for the Lions to accidentally snap it on 4th down in overtime and then lose the game because of that. That feels like a very Lions loss.
Yes. Yeah, that's especially Lions loss.
I mean, that batted ball, the Seahawks batted ball game is what's going to stick in my craw for a while.
I was at that game. You can't bring that up.
Well, I just did.
I mean, it goes without saying. We see it every year, but the Aaron Rodgers Hail Mary.
Speaking of that, ugh. And then Cowboys picking up the flag.
Yeah.
I had someone trying to litigate that to me the other week and trying to tell me that game is still on Stafford because that flag aside, he still didn't make a play to win that game or something. And I'm like, I don't know what you want.
He didn't get a chance on 4th down to make a play because Jim Caldwell didn't trust him.
Sam Martin shanked punt 10 yards.
Man, who misses Sam Martin right now? Nobody. Anyways.
Nobody.
I think my top 3 then would probably be the Titans game is ridiculous, but I guess it's not a huge game. So I would go Calvin Johnson rule, which we didn't even mention. Cowboys game, Titans game. Titans game. Those are my 3.
So I mentioned the batted ball and I mentioned the Cowboys game, and I think my third one, I hate to keep coming back to it because I feel like I mention it every time I go down memory lane, but 2012 Thanksgiving, where Jim Schwartz doesn't know what how a challenge flag works, and Jason Hansen, who's usually money, shanks a field goal, and Gunther Cunningham drop kicking the playbook, and that game in general was just abject pain. That was the most painful Thanksgiving game I've ever watched.
These are also recent, and it hurts. These are also recent, and it hurts because we haven't even talked about Marty Morningweg taking the wind in overtime.
Yeah, so good.
Yep. There's too many.
I want to change. I want to change that now. Yeah. I want to add Morningweg on there.
Yeah, brutal. But yeah, my top 3 is some amalgamation of Morningweg, the Cowboys loss, and honestly the batted ball. Just because it was, I know, keep saying it, and it's hurting Jeremy physically, but like it was Monday night.
Yeah, the Lions were 0-4, I think, at that point too. It was just like, this is our chance to turn the season around. Like we could.
Let's. If I can go into the archives here. I mean, none of us are really kind of 90s Lions guys, but I remember from the archives. What was it? 94 last game. The Lions could have clinched the NFC Central, and Brett Favre bombed Sterling Sharp to win the game.
Ugh. Why?
Kind of felt like a high water mark.
Speaking of more ugly Packers things, Matt Flynn in week 17.
Oh God, a meme created. Just Matt Flynn in general, just kicking us around. Yeah, actually, I can't really. I don't hate that game. You know why? Because Matt Flynn got that bag, and he continued to get bags for that game. People paid him a lot of money because of one game.
This was a picture I took on the Seattle trip, by the way.
I remember that picture. I remember getting that picture.
Me with a Super Bowl title in the background. Anyways, can we not
Closest
talk
you'll
about
ever get
crappy
to a Super
Lions
Bowl.
games anymore?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Baltimore beatdown is enjoying this listicle.
Oh,
Yeah,
wait until
you
we
know,
get to-
yeah, I was about to say, and he beat me to it, the Justin Tucker game.
damn.
That son of a bitch.
Say it.
This would be a great list cast to do with every NFL team.
I'm forgetting another one. It was the Jim Schwartz Pittsburgh game with the fake.
Oh, the fake field goal, right?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
God.
In the
Oh.
rain. It was just
Yeah.
the sloppiest thing I've ever seen. That whole season,
Speaking-
like, there was just a string of... That was, I think, the Eagles game.
Was
the
that
Snow
the
Bowl
ice? I was
game.
gonna say, was that the Snow Bowl game? I hated that game.
That
so
game was
much.
garbage, too.
That was I felt sincere pain watching that game. Sincere pain. I do not miss Jim Schwartz at all.
Well, yeah, and the other one that I'm gonna leave it off on this one. This is gonna be my last submission, but week 1 of the Matt Patricia era.
Jesus Christ.
Why?
Sam Darnold.
Oh!
The peak of Sam Darnold's career.
Well, hold on. We saw two things peak that night:
Yeah.
Sam Darnold's career and the Matt Patricia era.
Yeah,
Because
it peaked after one play.
Literally on back-to-back drive.
If he would have came in screaming "stop the count" after Quandre Diggs' interception or
Six, yeah.
touchdown, Matt Patricia is the greatest coach of all time. Nobody clipped that.
My first game as a credentialed media in the press box. I yelped after the touchdown. And then I paid for it the rest of the night.
I'm good now. Sometimes you gotta let out the poison. And goddamn, and what do we get for it? What do we get for the wages of our son? 25 gifted subs from LJ Baroff.
LJ!
Where does that put us at?
88. Reno? I called you Reno, sorry. Ryan? I need to see your hands. I need to see your hands for the rest of the show.
Lucky for Jeremy, I'm too poor to be throwing around money on Twitch.
I was just gonna say 88, just like our favorite wide receiver.
Hmm.
Marvin Harrison.
Oh, jeez. He said it. He said him. He said his name.
I
We're
didn't
done.
hear the first part.
We're
I
kidding.
just heard Harrison, so I don't know which Harrison you were referring to, and I refuse
Could
to
be
learn.
James Harrison.
Could be Harrison Ford.
Could be Harrison Butker.
Oh, Jesus.
All right. Want to take this one home?
Let's do it.
First off, before we do,
God damn it. Craig did it himself with the 10 gifted subs and then subscribed himself. Oh, no, then Conrad subscribed. And then, how am I not myself, gifted 5. So we're at 105. You bastards!
When you said Craig, I thought it was the recorder.
The
I was
recorder.
like, the recorder?
And Joshua just gave out 2 more. You animals. How is this still happening? By the way, we're at 540 subs for this channel. That is insane. That is an insane number by itself. I've cursed myself. I've cursed myself with this dumb thing.
I think I need to get a green screen. That thing's
Yeah,
way
same.
too cool.
I threw it in the Slack. Buy it, $70. I mean, Chad has just paid for it now. Paid for a couple of them.
Me and Ryan will just all have green screens.
One wall of fried food.
You're gonna need a little more light in that room though, Ryan, to make it work.
I'll make it work. I know I'm typically a dark person, but I can turn on some more lights in here.
Man, you guys are crazy. Thank you, by the way. I know I play mad, but I'm far more appreciative of the support than I am angry about keeping the mustache. So thank you, everybody.
Can we do a podcast now?
Yes.
Is that what we're here to do?
Welcome back. Pride of Detroit PODcast wrapping up here and delighting in Jeremy's pain over his mustache.
It's never going away.
Mustache.
It may as well just be super glued on at this point.
Don't you shouldn't. Gorilla Glue was just in the news. You should not do
for
that.
the teeth thing?
Yeah, no, for her hair.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, you didn't see this? Someone put Gorilla Glue in her hair.
I bet that went well.
Yeah, really went well. Speaking of putting super glue in your hair, speaking of putting Gorilla Glue in your hair, let's talk about the Chicago Bears and their attempts to trade for Carson Wentz.
I was just waiting to see where that segue was going. I like it.
Just equally mired in disaster. So, I mean, I could be jumping the gun on this because apparently I think the Eagles say they're going to have a decision on where to trade Carson Wentz coming this week. However, Michael David Smith, Pro Football Talk, had it out on Tuesday morning that apparently his sources say that the Eagles don't feel they have received a fair offer for Carson Wentz. And depending on what rumors you've listened to, the Bears are offering a first-round pick plus parts, plus I think a third rounder, and that's not enough.
Maybe Tariq Cohen.
Maybe that was the part I was throwing. Yeah, Tariq Cohen and Nick Foles in there too. Like, I feel good that the Lions got Stafford off early as they did because it set this market so high. And now people are thinking of crap. Like, the idea that you're going to get a Matthew Stafford haul for a guy that you benched at the end of the year, I got to respect that because it's crazy talk.
Yeah.
And yet there are so many teams out there starved for this. Like, the Colts have lined up at the trough. The Bears are lined up at the trough. And the Eagles want to sweat them both. But the Bears apparently have given up on Mitch Trubisky, and it's going to change the landscape of the NFC North.
Yeah, no question. And to be clear, I think the Eagles are being ridiculous. And I don't even know if I trust the Bears reports. I feel like that might be the Eagles throwing that out. Like, oh, look, the Bears are offering us a first and all this. Like, I don't know.
You think they're trying to sweat like the Colts or someone?
Maybe, but if the reports on the Colts' interest in Stafford are true, like, they're not willing to give up much. And so the Eagles are just going to have to deal with, maybe they get a first rounder. They're certainly not going to get two, which I think is what they were trying to get at first. And they're going to take a huge cap hit. Like, Lions took on just over 20 they took on about 18 or 19 on Stafford's deal. They're going to I think they're taking a dead cap hit of like 40. And maybe that's why they're saying, like, we need a huge return because we're taking a huge financial burden. But the Eagles are in big trouble. The Bears, I don't know what they're doing, man. If any of those reports
they're going for Wentz, I know Trubisky isn't good. He had a better 2020 year, but Ryan, does anyone on God's green earth think, aside from a couple holdout people, still think Carson Wentz is a quarterback worth first-round draft picks, that he's going to be a quarterback that could carry someone like the Bears to the playoffs?
I mean, let alone an upgrade over Mitchell Trubisky. I don't know how Carson Wentz is a tangible upgrade over the Mitchell Trubisky from 2020. And Chris, I think you probably put it best. the Eagles have nobody but themselves to blame for the situation they found themselves in, because not only did they decide to pay Carson Wentz, but then they drafted a quarterback in the second round in Jalen Hurts. And then the trifecta, you bench Carson Wentz to then play Jalen Hurts and completely tank his stock. So I get what Jeremy's saying. Like, the Eagles are coming from the standpoint of, well, we have this huge financial burden. We need to get draft pick compensation to offset that huge loss that the Eagles are operating at. But there's no way that the Bears give up that much for Carson Wentz, because if they do, we have the most memeable trade that the Bears have done in the past 20 years. And that's including the Mitchell Trubisky trade. 100%. Carson Wentz, do we know who Carson Wentz is? He's bad. He's bad.
Not only is he bad, but we keep ignoring all the reports out of Philadelphia. This guy is a locker room cancer. I'm sorry. I don't care how many guys come out to defend him, because as many guys who come out to defend Carson Wentz and put their names to it, it's easier to put your name to a report saying that's my quarterback. That far easier to do it than to put your name to a report where there's been quite a few reports about how Carson Wentz is just, I don't know, man, maybe the change of scenery is what he needs, but apparently in Philadelphia, he thought he was the hot bleep on campus.
And I mean
that he was the guy when he wasn't. He didn't even start in the Super Bowl for the ring that he holds.
And the one thing I want to say from the Bears' point of view is, like, if I'm the Bears owner, I'm almost thinking, like, I'm not even going to let them do this deal. Like, I'm going to step in and say no, because this feels like Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace going, we got to, like, this is our last year.
Yes.
We got to get something. And if they're willing to mortgage the future for freaking Carson Wentz, you take the keys out of the ignition and throw them in the bush and say, no.
Yeah.
You're too drunk to drive home. No.
If you're a Detroit sports fan, this feels, if Ryan Pace tries to pull off this move, Ryan, you're a Pistons fan too. It does feel like Stan Van Gundy throwing that Hail Mary to get Blake Griffin for the Pistons when he knew it was like his make or break year, and the Pistons were put in a massive hole where they just didn't have, meaningful picks for multiple years.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good a good comparison. My gosh, I just can't imagine a world in which the Bears do that, because
I can.
How can the Bears make such a bad trade with Trubisky, completely, like, just completely redeem themselves with the Khalil Mack trade, but then do an awful thing like going and get Carson Wentz? I mean, like, who is Ryan Pace at this point?
He's on his last leg. And listen, I know we do this every year, and I know it's way too early to condemn a team for 2021, but I think the Bears are in a lot of trouble for a team that, made the playoffs, and I'm putting that in quotes for the air. I mean, think about all the coaching staff that this team lost too. They're dealing with a completely overall. It really seemed like there were coaches jumping ship. They're like, I can see this thing is ending. The defensive team that is, carried us for years is not going to last forever. It's a house of cards. And then offensively speaking, yeah, they got the run game going a little bit towards the end of the year, but quarterback is not looking like it's going to get fixed anytime soon. I feel like that team is on the verge of a very, very big collapse in 2021, and going out and getting Carson Wentz isn't going to help that.
And they're losing other pieces on their offense too. They're just not the same offense that it once was. And like, as they've proven, their defense alone can't really carry them up here. And like, look, I know we're a Lions podcast, which means two things. A, some will say we don't have a right to throw stones. I respond by saying, we're just saying that the Bears belong in the same mud that we are in right now.
Dragging them
That's
down.
all I'm saying. Drag them down. You're not locked up. We're not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me. I butchered that quote. The second thing is that, I mean, come on. This is a Lions podcast. We want to have some Schadenfreude with someone who's supposed to be a rival.
Absolutely.
Schadenfreude. I mean, we'll probably talk with some of our wonderful Bears guys like Rob Zaglinski or Jonas Knox at some point, and they'll give us the more grounded, happy side of this thing. But I mean,
I don't know if that's grounded.
I don't know.
It's
I don't
it's
know,
grounded
like,
to them, maybe.
grounded to them. But man, it's hard to look at the Bears right now and say that this is going to be the team to beat in the NFC North.
They're not.
Yeah. We'll probably be scouting the rest of the NFC North coming up, because I think, the Aaron Rodgers rumors are always completely overblown. But looking to the Vikings, I mean, there are so many teams who are trying to, at least, if they're not even serious, they're at least trying to do their due diligence about either to get value for trading their quarterback or trying to upgrade their quarterback right now this offseason. There's a lot of teams in that mix, Jeremy.
I don't think the Vikings are going to be one of them.
You don't?
Nope.
Is it just that Kirk Cousins contract, or?
I think they like Kirk Cousins. I think I kind of like Kirk Cousins. I feel like people underrate Kirk Cousins like crazy. And I'm a Michigan guy saying that about a Michigan State guy, so I'm being objective.
Okay. Ryan, I have a note here that you have a hot take about you want to do some revisionist history and go back to here. Like, we've got the details now about the Carolina Panthers, the offer they made for Matthew Stafford before the Lions agreed to terms with the Los Angeles Rams for 2 first-round picks, a third, and Jared Goff in exchange for Matthew Stafford. So what do you got for me?
Yeah, so I mean, we know that the Lions and the Panthers were pretty far advanced when it came to trade talks. I mean, at one point, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeremy, but the Panthers had reached out to get medical records for Stafford. So, I mean, you're really getting to the finish line there. And they had made a serious offer of the 8th overall pick, a 5th round pick, and quarterback Teddy Bridgewater for Matthew Stafford. And I think that the discussion at least needs to be had of whether or not that been a better offer for the Lions than what they received in the trade with the Los Angeles Rams. And I think it's really centered on that number 8 pick.
Yep.
I think that while the terminology keeps on getting a little bit, misconstrued, and there's a lot of hand wringing over whether or not it's a rebuilding or a retooling, I think that the Lions just need impact players, and that's how you build. And at the top of the draft is the best place to get those guys. I'm not saying that those late first round picks that the Rams will probably produce the Lions, in all likelihood, aren't valuable, but I'm saying that the number 8 pick right now is valuable. And to have that in addition with the number 7 pick, who knows whether or not the Lions could trade out of that, potentially, even trade back and just have, even more additional draft capital. But I'm also just a bigger fan of Teddy Bridgewater than Jared Goff.
I like Goff better than Teddy.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many angles to this to consider. Go ahead. I'll let you finish your point before I get in.
Yeah, I guess the last thing I want to say is they probably serve the same service. Like they probably get you to the point that you want to get to either way.
The bridges.
Yeah, that's the joke on Teddy's name. He is Teddy Bridgewater, a bridge over water to a better quarterback.
Yeah, and I think the Lions could have been competitive with either one of them. So I think it really comes down to, Jeremy, what do you prefer? Do you prefer that 8th pick right now and, a 5th round pick, or do you prefer the couple of first round picks and the 3rd round pick?
Yeah. Well, and then salary is also something to keep in mind, right? Like Bridgewater's contract is a little more palatable. It's probably saves you about $10 million in the first year, and I think you could even get rid of Bridgewater in 2022 with no significant cap hit at all. Whereas Goff, you would take at least 10.5, I think, next year. But either way, yeah, I think you're right. The major question between those two is really the draft picks. Do you want 2 firsts or a top 10 pick? And if you look at the Jimmy Johnson trade chart, the 8th overall pick is equal to 2 26th overall picks. And so are you going to get 2 26th overall picks? I mean, probably if you're unlucky. I'd say that's maybe about what you can expect. But I maybe I'm crossing my fingers and hoping, the Rams just don't make the playoffs one of the next 2 years and the Lions get lucky. And then I think it would tip towards the Rams trade. I do think it's very even. I do think it's very close. I get what you're saying, Ryan, about getting that impact player. But when I see 2 firsts and a 3rd, I see if you got a good general manager, you've got a guy who could potentially get 3 starters out of those draft picks versus 1 with the 8th overall pick. And that to me makes it a little where if I'm Brad Holmes and I believe in myself, that's the one I would pick.
Yeah, for me, several things are going on here. One, I respect where Jeremy's going as far as like they're probably going to be like mid to late 20s for those picks, but that's a really tough division Stafford just got thrown into.
Sure.
The Rams are not guaranteed to win that, especially if the 49ers can figure out their quarterback position, especially if the Seahawks can salvage their defense. Depending what happens with the Cardinals, if Kyler Murray takes this next step forward and the Cardinals continue to build, like that's an incredibly competitive division. I don't think anything is given in the NFC West this coming year.
Don't have to win it to make the playoffs, though. They got those 3 wild card spots, though.
They do have 3 wild cards. We'll see. I mean, we're going up to 17 games next year too, and again, we haven't even gotten free agency yet.
Right.
Or the draft. It's hard to tell. But I think where I like the Rams better is, again, I think I mentioned it earlier. Oh, well, actually, I didn't mention it on the podcast, but during our break in Twitch, we talked about this upcoming quarterback class, about how shallow it really is once you get past the top 5. Hell, even shallow once you get past Trevor Lawrence, if you're not a believer in a Zach Wilson or a Trey Lance or a Justin Fields. That if you don't see your guy this year, you want to have those options for the years next. Carolina's deal sounds fantastic, but that's only if you're in love with a quarterback this year, in my book. Because you just don't have the draft capital to move up if you fall in love with a guy in 2022, unless you have just completely decided this is going to be the season you tank and you're pulling a Jacksonville or a Jets. And again, that's hard to do, as the Jets proved that sometimes you can you can accidentally win something out there when it would not behoove you the most. So I think this talks to a larger strategy for the Lions. I'm not saying I hate the Panthers deal. I would have taken that. I would have been very happy with it too. I would not devalue Goff that much either. Like I know I'm doing some QB wins here, but I mean, the guy did, lead this team to some pretty deep places before it all fell apart there. And, it's clear from talking with Dan Campbell and some of the others on the Lions coaching staff, they like Jared Goff. And Jared Goff seems like a guy who could maybe get this second chance at the scenery. I know people are kind of worried on how much they're hyping up Goff, that he might be more than a bridge quarterback. All I'll say is that they'll give Goff a chance before deciding if he's a bridge quarterback. So I think I think the Rams deal speaks to that. They probably don't like the quarterbacks in 2020 in this draft too much, and maybe they're looking to 2022.
And the one last thing I want to say about it is seeing the Panthers offer, I think, pretty much dispels the notion almost entirely that the Rams threw in a second first-round pick just as a favor to unload that contract.
No, this was definitely the price got played up.
Yeah, they were in a bidding war. The Panthers drove a bidding war up, and the Lions weren't doing any favors here. They got a guy who they view as valuable. They got those first round picks because they needed, like the Rams had to give him that to win the bid. And so I think we can pretty much dispel the notion that the Lions took on a salary of a guy they didn't want. Just to get another first-round pick. Even if they had, I would have been kind of okay with that because, again, it's building more towards the future than it is the present. But based on that Panthers deal, they didn't. Like that was the going price.
Yeah, and that was like a prevailing thought that I think that we all agreed upon.
Yeah,
was like, yeah. I mean that like we kind of rationalized the trade as being it's a first and a third for Stafford, and it's a first to take on Goff's contract. So.
And apparently Stafford wanted to go to Los Angeles too, and I don't know if he had a deciding factors here. It was like, hey, right. Matt, we've got 2 great offers. You can either go to Carolina or to Los Angeles. Maybe he said, I would prefer Los Angeles over Carolina. I don't know behind the scenes, but
there was the Chris Sims report, and it has not been corroborated by anyone. And I'm not trying to throw Chris Sims under the bus, but Chris Sims said that Stafford nixed the deal to Carolina. I don't, based on everything else we're hearing.
Yeah.
Based on everything else that we're hearing, Albert Breer saying they were already getting medicals from Matthew Stafford, which is one of the final, legs of the deal. You don't go that far if Matthew Stafford is going to nix the trade. So I don't personally believe the Sims the Chris Sims report out there. You know, he just said it kind of off the cuff on a radio show. So,
but I think I could see that scenario if it's like, all right, staff, you know, they just ask Stafford's input. Maybe Stafford doesn't nix it, but he says, I would still prefer to go to Los Angeles. Sure. And by the way, right now I am in Cabo with Sean McVay.
Yeah, I'm sitting in his lap. He's stroking my head and saying, "You're going to be great here, buddy."
Yeah, I mean, God, that would have been terrifying with Carolina too. Matt Rule's offense with Christian McCaffrey and Matthew Stafford, and Drew Brees probably retiring. I don't know. They're restructuring his deal. It seems like he's going to retire.
Yeah.
And, you know, Matt Ryan's getting old and kind of on his way out. And, I mean, you maybe got to put up with Tom Brady for a year or two, but then after that, he's gone. Like, hell. But no, I mean, Los Angeles, baby.
Should be interesting.
Mm-hmm. Any more notes? Can we wrap this up? I think we've gotten through everything.
I think this is going to turn out to be an extra sized episode, which is interesting.
This is a jumbo one.
It was finally the week that everything slowed down and we had to go long on it.
But I think we spread our wings. This is kind of what it is for the off season for us here at Pride of Detroit, because we do try to keep it Lions focused. But I like to think Lions fans we want to fulfill. It's more than just what's within the walls of Allen Park, as we talked about here. For, you know, the Bears is about the big picture across the NFL, around the NFC North. We're going to deliver all of that to you in the offseason. We're going to be talking a lot more about the draft in the coming weeks. We're going to be talking a lot more about free agency in the coming weeks. Once those are out of the way, which is still a long ways away, that's like 2-3 months before we get to that point. Then we start doing list casts and all sorts of other fun stuff. So you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Be sure to follow us on Twitch, twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit, or on YouTube. Search for YouTube on YouTube for Pride of Detroit. Follow us on Twitter at Pride of Detroit. Check out the Facebook page. Check out, of course, prideofdetroit.com. Not to throw that one completely away. The very important part of this whole family is the actual website where we actually do writing at Pride of Detroit. In addition to a podcast, I'm shocked.
We're able to handle both.
We're able to handle both, apparently. For all of us here, I'm Chris Perfett. Follow me on Twitter at Chris Perfett, PERFETT. Jeremy Reisman's at Detroit Online on Twitter. Ryan Matthews, the Rock God, at Ryan_POD. We wrap it up here for this week, and we tell you, as always, we are going to see you Starside. Goodbye, everyone. Go Lions. Woo!
All right, live chat. We're probably not going to spend a super long time here because we're already pushing 2 hours here, which is about usually when we end completely. And yeah, we saved the stash. The stash is back. The stash will be back next week. Everyone's just typing stash in the chat for some reason. Oh, there goes there goes both of our
No,
guys.
I kicked them both.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. Can we talk about how much Campbell loves Davis? Yeah, I think maybe one of our next podcasts we'll just go over the Lions free agents and talk about their futures with the teams. But Jared Davis is certainly going to be an interesting one now because...
Are you still streaming, Jeremy? Because I'm getting spinning wheel.
I am.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
But yeah, apparently on 2 separate occasions now, Dan Campbell has mentioned Jared Davis as a guy who intrigues him. And so, I mean, you could probably have him back at a cheap deal because he certainly hasn't impressed. But there could be other teams that, you know, see the physicality, the athleticism, and be like, you know what, maybe that's something that I'm interested in giving a shot. But
I think it's clear he was just, regardless of what you think about Jared Davis, he was misused in Detroit. He just wasn't used properly. So, I mean...
How do you use that guy that has no control?
I don't know.
Can't make a read on a defensive play, who just, like, can't control his body, overruns everyone, can't tackle anybody? Like, what do you do?
This is the problem. But, I mean, in general, like, you can't play it off as, like, look, Patricia's system, like, you don't know where you got to be or what you got to do, man. And Campbell said as much, too. So maybe that's his justification. Maybe I think Campbell believes that just Davis was not being coached to the proper use of his abilities.
There's no question he thinks that. There's no question that's what he thinks. But I just don't know how long we're going to play this game with Jared Davis, because
I agree.
To be clear, he was not drafted by Matt Patricia. He had 1 year without Matt Patricia, and that didn't go well. So I don't know. The thing is, the issues that Jared Davis had in the pros were the same ones he had in college. There was nothing new that came of his tape once he came to the NFL. And so, I mean, yes, you can coach some of those issues out. That's the whole reason why the draft is tough to predict, is because everyone has flaws coming out of college, and it's part of the luck of the draft is where they land. If they land in a favorable situation, they progress. And maybe the Lions could progress. But you've got a coaching staff that's very young. I like the coaching staff. And I don't know. Like, the physical tools are there. I just don't know if the mental tools are ever going to get there. And I'm certainly not going to buy any Jared Davis stock, whether he re-signs here or not.
Riley O'Brien, longtime Lions fan here from Utah. Wanted you guys to know I appreciate what you guys do. Thank you, Riley. That's from our YouTube chat. Not as lively today, but we keep an eye on YouTube as well.
So Tavai going to thrive now? Well, see, the thing with Tavai is no one has that same sort of optimism because he doesn't have the physical traits, right? He's not nearly athletic as Jared Davis is. But no, I mean, no, I'm not high on Tavai either.
Jared Davis, it feels like Ryan. I don't know. Maybe because I was looking back through our past, because when we were putting together our annual prop bet article, I was looking back through a past year and found the prop bet we made about the Fire Festival founder out there, and I read what you wrote about me giggling over Fire Festival, and everything seems to keep coming back to that draft year, man, when we were in Philadelphia.
Yeah, that was, I mean, Bob Quinn, like, he almost like signed his letter of resignation with that draft.
His first draft.
I mean, he got Kenny Galladay out of it and Jamal Agnew.
Okay.
So he got a
both of which might not make it to a new contract.
He got a kick returner and he got a pretty good wide receiver, but man, Jared Davis and Tease Tabor, that's about as big of a swing and a miss as you can make.
Wait, was Tease that year? I thought it was Amir Abdullah was the second round pick that year when we were in Philly.
No.
When was Amir? Was he
2015?
Oh yeah, that's right. No. 2015 would have been.
I don't know. I'm bad.
Yeah, no. 2015 was Amir, because I remember, Jeremy, I think you went to San Diego for the Chargers game to start that season.
Yep, that's right. Yep.
And that was the one good game Amir Abdullah had. Because he broke. Who was it? He broke some safety's legs.
Was it Waddle?
Eric Weddle.
Yeah.
Eric Weddle. Yeah, he just juked the soul out of Eric Weddle that game.
My good friend and active chatter, how am I not myself, was on that trip with me.
Mm-hmm. I remember that game because I remember the broadcast was a big deal out because it was so hot in San Diego that it was like the rubber from the AstroTurf was melting.
I forgot he missed that play. He was a latecomer. He was stuck in Lions would end up losing that game, but yeah, my friend there had quite some time leaving the stadium and saying, "Hey, enjoy not having a team next year."
That was a rough year. That was a hell of a rough year to come off a playoff appearance to just face plant like that, Ryan. That was our first year of podcast too.
That was.
Yeah. It was. Yeah.
How far we've come, and I mean, as a podcast, not as a football team.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully next year we can start playing some more Africa again. Bring that back and make some new memes. We've had a distinct lack of memes because of the Patricia years, and I feel like even the Dan Campbell press conference, we've been floating in them. So
someone has floated that we need to get a new song. Like it does. I mean, I hate to say it, but it does kind of feel like that Africa has maybe run its course.
Yeah, but that was the thing is like I was trying to argue at the time that we weren't just following because I didn't even know there was like an Africa
right. We were ahead of it.
Trend at the time.
We were ahead of it.
We were ahead of it. We were the trendsetters.
But now like it, I don't know. I feel like I feel like it's
I don't know. I feel like
now...
I kind of agree with you, but at the same time, if we do abandon Africa, I feel like we are saying, yeah, we were just going along with a trendy song, and we're just going to, because at some point, probably someone was sitting there as the Red Sox are swinging "Sweet Caroline" is like, hey, should we maybe update our song?
Yeah, probably, and they should though, because that song sucks.
Well, I know you think that sucks. Yeah. Or if you're going to, it would be like going to a Red Wings game and saying, you know what, Journey's overplayed. We should do Detroit.
But all those people are right. Those people to question those traditions are right. I'm sorry. I would much like they do. They do Lit, My One Worst Enemy there at Red Wings game. They've been doing that for a few years now. I like that. At least it's not a terrible song, and it's from the past 20 years, maybe not 20 years anymore. Jesus, 25 years.
I think it actually came out in '99. So
22 years.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll consider it. I'm up for it. It just has to happen organically.
That's the thing.
You can't force anything.
We're not just gonna do like Blinding Lights or something.
Like, do you know? God, I've heard the same like 3 seconds. But what was it? Damn it! You guys sidelined.
Shaggy was during the Super Bowl too, because they had the fucking Cheetos commercial. Yeah. Like my entire childhood, because Wayne's World got repackaged for what, Fiverr for Uber Eats.
Yeah, Beavis and Butthead were in 2 commercials.
Dolly Parton re-recorded 9 to 5 for Squarespace.
Super Bowl commercials, they try so hard.
Yeah, but this year was just brutal, man.
I see that.
Yeah, they were bad.
I was taking psychic damage during like that Bruce Springsteen Jeep commercial. Bleep all the way off.
I didn't see it. Don't care to see it. I don't know. I wasn't super tuned in with the commercials this year for whatever reason. I don't know. Probably the game pulled me out. Like I was just
Well,
I honestly like stopped kind of watching like early in the third quarter.
I'm also like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm conditioned at this point. Like when a commercial comes on, like it's Twitter time on my phone.
Yep.
I guess I just you always make the exception for the Super Bowl, I guess. Maybe at least for parties. Not because like I'm one of these people who thinks it's cool to be watching commercials or whatever, but it's part and parcel of the deal, right? That this is the time, and yet none of them were good. Like Bud Light tried doing like a Marvel Cinematic Universe shit, and like it was bad. It was worse than again, I was getting psychic damage, and it wasn't just because Scientology had an ad.
I didn't even see that. Welcome to the Jungle. Oh, no. Fleetwood Mac Dreams. Yeah, that's super original choice.
Yeah, it should be more like Landslide.
By the way, they kept reviving Vince Lombardi.
Yeah,
like Vince Lombardi now joins Carrie Fisher and Grand Moff Tarkin and Tupac is like you're no longer allowed to die in this country.
Nope.
If we can make money off of your image, you're no longer allowed to die.
Zombie by the Cranberries. I love that song. But
yeah, the Jeep commercial did leave out the Upper Peninsula. I guess they ceded the Upper Peninsula to Canada.
We are absolutely not doing Weezer's Africa, LJ. I'm sorry.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. You're muted, Ryan.
I was gonna say, what about Pitbull's Africa?
No.
No. The song.
What about Pitbull's Time of My Life?
The song that I was thinking about earlier was the St. Louis Blues when they did Gloria. That was awesome.
Right.
Gloria.
It's an old one, but I mean, it's completely
but Gloria is
unique.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Laura Branigan, come on.
We'll have to think.
What about
Troy Barnes? It's okay, Ryan. Go back to being muted.
Hold up. Speaking of that stuff, what about Carly Simon? You're So Vain. You probably think this song is about you.
That would have been perfect for the Matt Patricia era, but
yeah.
We should do a soundtrack to an era, the Matt Patricia edition, and we should each pick a song that defines the Matt Patricia era.
I mean, something from the Limp Bizkit catalog. We on that for a long time.
I mean, yeah, if we're going to go coaches, like coach thing, like maybe something like AC/DC would be appropriate for this era.
Oh,
it's not my
God.
favorite genre of music, but I don't
Please
completely
not
hate
dad
it either.
rock. Please not dad rock. Anything but I don't want to hear about Metallica, Kiss, AC/DC, Guns N' Roses. I'm sorry. Your music is fucking trash. Get the fuck out. Like,
All right. Speaking
and
of
I'm
that,
I'm a
go.
metalhead. Yeah. Bye, Ryan.
We should all
Adios.
probably jump off here too, because
I'm sorry. We've been going for 2 hours,
which is a long podcast stream by our
But
standards.
I do want to do some streams during the week. I do have the next
Yeah.
2 days off. So I do want to sit there and I don't know. We'll talk about it off stream, Jeremy.
Yeah,
I think
we
there's
don't
some-
have any immediate plans for midweek streams, but we should. I mean, there's not a lot going on, so maybe we can pull in a guest somewhere.
Nothing recorded. I'm trying to work on a big guest, but nothing right now on that front.
Yeah.
But we're going to try to. We're going to keep the off season spiced up pretty well.
And
folks.
the one thing I do want to send people a reminder of: we are doing a Saturday stream. We are doing a Madden Sim. It's going to be a fun one. We are putting Jared Goff on the Detroit Lions. We're putting Matthew Stafford on the Los Angeles Rams, and we are butting heads and seeing what happens. Probably won't be pretty
good.
It probably won't be pretty, especially since we're using the 2020 Rams and all their fantastic defense. But that's going to be a lot of fun. So make sure you stick by. I love doing the Madden Sims. I think they're one of the most fun things we do on this Twitch channel. So if you haven't been to one, this Saturday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern is when we're going to do it. So make sure to stop by.
Yep, thanks. And yeah, Baltimore Beatdown, I will message you just because I think I do have a project in mind. I want to kind of get our brothers over at Baltimore Beatdown involved. So,
Body is drowning pool. I don't hate that one, honestly.
The lion sleeps tonight.
That's the one that they play intro, like when the Lions are running through the tunnel in an away game, to make fun of them.
Of course they are.
All right.
Of course they are.
All right, chat. If you're here on Twitch,
I'm
we're gonna go
tired.
raid someone. It'll probably be Reno because I saw he jumped on. Actually, you know what? Let's go raid Reno the wife. Let's go raid Reno's wife.
Oh yeah, and her wonderful. She's really close to affiliate. So give her a follow. She likes playing Stardew Valley, which is a fantastic indie game. If you fell in love with Animal Crossing at all this year, you might enjoy her playing Stardew Valley.
So let's go raid her if it'll let me. I don't know if you can raid someone. Oh, you can. Perfect. Go say hi to her. Be nice. Hang out for a long time. I'm not gonna lie, Stardew Valley, not my cup of tea,
Rasputin.
but
Rasputin would be a fantastic song.
I do like Rasputin. That is kind of a
I know a good
TikTok
metal
thing
version
right now, but
there is a good metal version by a band called Teresas from like 10 years ago. I heavily recommend it.
all right. But for now, we will see you sometime later in the week at the very, very latest Saturday. But now go say hi to Reno's wife. We will see you guys soon. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for all the subs. Thanks for making me have a mustache. We'll see you later. Bye. And now the awkward YouTube thing.
Thanks, YouTube.
You guys are amazing too, by the way. Love you all.
I want to turn this up just to
Turn
hear
what
her
up?
reaction.
Oh, okay. I got to